Before this video begins, thank you so much to those who did indeed comment. General Zod, our keyword of last video, in the comment section below. If you want to be featured in the next Canadiens video, stay tuned to the end for the keyword and comment that so. But on the subject of today's topic, no, this isn't a video hating on Cole Caufield, because at the World Juniors you could debate whether or not he has been as good as people have wanted him to be. But instead, this is a video sparked up by a whole bunch of discourse that I've seen online that is incredibly engaging. So, without further ado, let's talk about our topic here today, the Montreal Canadiens and trades. Specifically, a trade idea for Pierre-Luc Dubois. Now, ever since we had the news revealed a few days ago that Pierre-Luc Dubois, despite the fact that he did re-sign a contract extension with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the team that did draft him 3rd overall back in the 2016 NHL Entry Draft, for a 2-year period worth $5 million each for a total of $10 million, there were still reports saying that, hey, even though he signed this extension, he wants to be traded. He doesn't want to play in Columbus anymore. He wants an opportunity elsewhere. And as a result, because obviously this was bound to happen, it always happens like this, doesn't it? Once we saw news that Pierre-Luc Dubois, a French guy with a French name from Quebec, wanted out, Habs fans came in here on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram saying, yo, we should make a trade here, boys. Let's trade for PLD. Bergevin, go, go, go. And it's funny because if you search up PLD Habs or Dubois Habs or Dubois Montreal or PLD Montreal all onto Twitter, you can see so many Habs fans discussing whether or not a Habs trade for Dubois could work. Would you do a trade for Dubois depending on how much you give up? People are talking about players and assets that Bergevin could give up in a trade with the Blue Jackets that they would say yes to, or maybe they wouldn't say yes to, because at the same time there are many Canadiens fans who are just like, okay, here, take our scraps. Here's a trade package of Wheel, a second, I don't know, Struble and Tatar. Here, accept this for Pierre-Luc Dubois, right? Well, we have a whole bunch of trade offers going everywhere, because Canadiens fans, I've said it a ton, you know I love you, but you're crazy. You are all crazy, Canadiens fans. You guys are nuts when it comes to your hockey team, and I'm the same way, so don't worry, I'm not making anybody feel left out here. But this was exemplified even further when on TVA Sports they uploaded the article talking about the Pierre-Luc Dubois rumor, saying, hey, even though he signed, he may still want to trade. Is he on the block? Is he whatever? And then they posted it onto Facebook. Take a look at this. This post by TVA Sports has 719 reactions and 1.3 thousand comments. It's a link to the article, yes, but the caption reads this: Donneriez-vous Phillip Danault et Cole Caufield en retour? Now, if you translate that, would you trade Phillip Danault and Cole Caufield to Columbus for PLD? And that's why I'm making this video here, because this is the idea that TVA Sports published on their Facebook page, which had Habs fans everywhere in the comments saying, oh, Danault, Caufield for PLD. Some said they would do it, others said they wouldn't. Some said it was too much, others said it was too little. People were saying, oh, Kotkaniemi, throw that in there or whatever. But like, yeah, that's the idea we're going over here. Would you trade Phillip Danault and Cole Caufield for Pierre-Luc Dubois? And again, this isn't a slight on Cole Caufield. This is not me saying, oh, the World Juniors Caufield isn't great, so let's trade the guy. No, it's just a hypothetical, buddy. Let's calm down about that here. Pierre-Luc Dubois is in a position where he is on the payroll for an extra 2 seasons after this offseason, for 2020 at least. Yeah, he's on until 2022, you get it. But if you take a look at a trade package that would include a guy like Phillip Danault, who is expiring this season, and a Cole Caufield, what this kind of move does is you're quite literally upgrading your team. Say what you want about Phillip Danault, but Pierre-Luc Dubois is better. Now you could say whether or not the magnitude of him being better is all too big, but at the end of the day, in terms of offense, hey, Pierre-Luc Dubois had 49 points in 70 games last season. Phillip Danault is a guy who had the exact same amount of points, pretty much, 47 points in 71 games. So Dubois had a slightly better points per game, but he does indeed have a 60-point campaign under his belt, whereas Danault's season high was 53. Also, you have that Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was a point per game in the most recent postseason against Toronto and against Tampa Bay. Now, for Phillip Danault, this is a guy who definitely does not have age on his side. He is older, he is 27, Pierre-Luc Dubois is 22. So Dubois is already a game-changing NHL center today. He's a two-way monster, he knows what to do in his own end, and he can get offense. And if you're straight up just one-for-one replacing Phillip Danault with a Pierre-Luc Dubois, your hockey team gets better, which is why the Cole Caufield is in that idea to balance out the scales. But there are a whole bunch of other people out there who have been saying no, even though it makes sense for the Habs to do that if they want to get better today. I would not do that move. First off, Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to enter a system where Suzuki and Kotkaniemi are already projected to being the number 1 and number 2 centers going into the long-term future. And furthermore, Phillip Danault was already in a spot where we didn't really know if his security in the top 6 was all too guaranteed. As for those other two guys, though, it's going to be really difficult justifying a Suzuki or a Kotkaniemi or a Dubois, assuming they all pan out, playing on your third line a few years down the road. And I say that with guarantees because if you're trading away a Cole Caufield, who is probably your top prospect in the system today, you're not going to trade him for a guy that you're only planning to keep for 2 years. You're going to try to get Pierre-Luc Dubois to sign an extension in 2 years or in 1 year when that re-signing extension window opens a few years from now. Which is why a lot of other people have been talking about, oh, if you throw in a Kotkaniemi in there instead of Caufield, then I would do it. I'd trade Danault and KK for a Pierre-Luc Dubois. But at that point, it's kind of overkill in my opinion because Kotkaniemi is also a guy who has a boatload of NHL potential as well going into the long-term future. So you're really just speeding up the process, I guess, by acquiring a Dubois in exchange for a Kotkaniemi and a Danault, with that Danault piece being the extra add-on there. Who knows, if you throw in a Ryan Poehling or whatever to balance everything out, maybe it works, but obviously, the other aspect of this is the fact that the Columbus Blue Jackets actually have to say yes as well, which is why all the other trade proposals we saw, I said it at the beginning, but people were taking a look at the scraps of Montreal, and you could really search this on Twitter and find legit examples of people arguing about this. Oh, let's just trade away a whole bunch of scraps, you know, bottom 6 players, expensive contracts, maybe a third or a second round pick, or being generous here, let's give them a second. And then they'll say yes, right? But no, it's not how that works. You know, the Blue Jackets actually have to make a trade that they would see value in if they're going to get rid of probably the guy who could become one of their best players in the next few years. Now, this brings up an entirely other discussion as to whether or not Columbus has this weird allergic reaction to talent because Artemi Panarin left, Sergei Bobrovsky left, Matt Duchene left, Ryan Dzingel left, now you have Pierre-Luc Dubois, who might be on his way out too. It's weird over there in Columbus. But this idea of Pierre-Luc Dubois going over to Montreal, honestly, I think a lot of it is facilitated because of the fact that he is French and because of the fact that we did have those rumors, 4 years ago? 5 years ago now. It's 2021. My gosh, yeah, it was 5 years ago. Talking about how the Vancouver Canucks almost traded their 5th overall pick to the Montreal Canadiens to draft Pierre-Luc Dubois had Dubois been available at number 5 for PK Subban. We made a video about that a few years ago, but that indeed was something that was crazy real, apparently. So, the fact is, Dubois is indeed a French-Canadian guy, and automatically, because he's French-Canadian, there's that link with the Canadiens that does seem to exist whenever this kind of player enters the trading sphere, remotely even. Whether that be the trading block or the offer sheet or a free agency period or whatever, Canadiens fans are always getting their fair share of things when it comes to their French-Canadian players in the NHL, which is why TVA Sports even came out here and had their own proposal. Would you do Danault and Caufield for Dubois? But you already know my answer. I'm going to say it, probably not, to be honest. I think even though Phillip Danault is not guaranteed long-term, you could say the same thing about Dubois if you acquire this guy, and it's just going to make the decision even harder to do when the time comes when you need to decide between Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, and Dubois who plays on the third line. There are a whole bunch of risks that come with that, in my opinion, whether or not one of Suzuki, KK, or Dubois would feel upset about being a third-line guy. We saw it with Danault already. He was somewhat upset, and he's not even really a guy whom a lot of people say deserves top 6 minutes on this Canadian squad that has a Kotkaniemi who outplayed him in the postseason, and a Suzuki who's looking to become one of the best players on the team in the next few years. And plus that Cole Caufield, man, even though he might be underwhelming to some at the World Juniors, I absolutely love this guy, man. I can't wait to see him in a Canadiens jersey. As for the Blue Jackets, though, if it was a Dubois for Caufield and the no trade, I honestly think they would say yes. I don't know, my hunch says that they would say yes. I don't know if it's guaranteed, though. there's a chance they could say no to that because Dubois is just so gosh darn good, and he's so gosh darn young too that there's value there for sure too. But let me know in the comments what you would do for this. Would you trade Danault and Caufield for Pierre-Luc Dubois? That's it. No strings attached. 2-for-1 trade right here. Would you do it? Tell me in the comments below. Also, if you made it to the end of this video, comment down in the comments Abraham Lincoln to let me know if you made it to the end of this video for a chance to be featured in the next Canadiens video. Because when we're talking about Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think about the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles, and the imagery there is pretty straightforward. Eagles make me think of Abraham Lincoln. So talk to me in the comments about Abraham Lincoln. Also, tell me what you think about this trade proposal too. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Scholz99. Check out the YouTube channel at about 3:30-ish PST PM because we're going to be streaming for Canada, Czech Republic, and bye.